Hey, it's Megan. Welcome to another Acumatica Essentials tutorial from Contigo. We're going through an overview of Acumatica's most popular modules and showing you what a cloud-based ERP system can do for your business. Right now, we'll be covering the chart of accounts and general ledger functions. Is your business growing, but you're stuck in an old chart of accounts that no longer matches your operations? Are recurring or reversing transactions a manual process? Are you able to quickly import large transactions? Let's take a look at how you can tackle that like a pro in Acumatica 2020. For finance, let's start with the controller dashboard. At a glance, I can get a quick overview of finance items requiring my attention and drill down into any of the widgets displayed. I can design and configure my dashboard to meet my needs. Now let's go to the finance workspace and open our chart of accounts. In most ERP systems, it's difficult or impossible to update your chart of accounts as your business grows or changes. But in Acumatica, you can easily renumber or rename your accounts as you need. So I'm going to go to this account here, and I'm just going to change the number. And then I'm also going to change the description. And I'm just going to press save. It is going to give me a warning to make sure that I actually want to make this action, and I'll press yes. So now throughout Acumatica, this account number and description has been updated. Some other features while we're here on the chart of accounts screen is the ability to set up restriction groups to restrict access to specific accounts in specific modules. We also have the control account module settings here. So here we have two accounts that we've set up as control accounts for the accounts receivable module. This is to help prevent imbalances between your subledger and your general ledger. And here we also have the ability to allow manual entry or not allow manual entry. So we'll look at these two accounts specifically later when we go to do a journal entry. Additionally, we have the option to post in detail or summary mode in the various accounts. We can set specific accounts as cash accounts and set cash account currencies. For accounts that are not in our base currency, we can set the revaluation rate type. And we also can set up our account groups for our project accounting module. Beyond your chart of accounts, you can also set up sub-accounts. This feature needs to be enabled on the Enable Disable features screen. Sub-accounts allow for even more granularity in your reporting while keeping your chart of accounts manageable. Sub-accounts can be multi-segment, so as you can see here, we have two segments, and this is managed on the segmented keys screen. We can have a maximum length of 30 characters, but we're only using 6. I've set up my specific segment values here on the segment values screen, so we have a list of available options for each segment. We can allow for adding new segments on the fly or flexible combinations of existing segments, but we've locked ours down to a specific set of combinations. I can restrict these combinations to specific account groups or user groups. Let's go take a look at how this appears in a financial report. So I'm going to go to the account by sub-account inquiry. And I'm going to look at my sales revenue account, and I'm looking at it for an older period with more data. And here we can easily see at a glance which business lines are driving our revenue. Let's go now to our general ledger preferences form and look at some of the other settings for this module. Here we can set the sign of our trial balance. So we have two options, normal and reversed. With the normal setting, if an account has a standard balance, it will be displayed as a positive number. So a credit balance on an income account, which would be the normal balance you'd expect to see, it would be displayed as a positive number. With the reverse option selected, a credit balance, regardless of account type, would always be displayed as a negative number. Here we can also set what order we would like our accounts to be displayed in our chart of accounts and our trial balances. Here we have some posting settings. So we can select how we want any reversing entries to post. So we're going to say that we want the reversing entry to post immediately. We also can set how journal entries get posted, whether they need to be released and then posted or posted automatically. We can restrict access to closed periods. So if this feature is enabled, only users with the financial supervisor role can access and post into a closed period. To prevent posting entirely to a period, you would need to set the period to locked. We also have some options about generating consolidated batches versus detailed batches, and also some other settings about releasing and holding. As we were just mentioning about access to financial periods, let's go take a look at a couple of settings for our financial calendars. Here on the Enable Disable features screen, there's two items I want to point out: centralized period management and multiple calendar support. If your company shares one financial calendar and you want to open and close modules and periods together for all companies within a single tenant, these are the settings that you should have. If you want to close modules and periods independently between companies in the same tenant, you would turn off the centralized period management function. If you have companies within the same tenant that have different fiscal years, you would need to turn on multiple calendars support. I'm going to go now to the master financial calendar screen. And here I can see which periods are open and what their various statuses are. So here I have several open periods and then several inactive periods that I haven't opened yet. Here I can also see the status of the various modules. Using the Generate Calendar button, I can create the next year's fiscal calendar. And I also have the option under Actions to open, close, lock and unlock, and deactivate and reopen periods if I need to. I can also do these actions from the Manage Financial Calendars form. I can also close each module independently if I search for the Close Financial Periods options, and there's one for each module. To close or lock periods or modules, all the previous periods must be closed first. So you cannot have gaps of open and closed periods. You can manage your budgets in Acumatica. To have budgets in Acumatica, you need to create at least one ledger of the budget type. And let's go take a look at the budgets form. Here I'm going to quickly look at the 2019 budget, and we've set this up in a tree and node setting. So we've got a couple groups here that are summarized, and we can expand and look at the specific accounts and sub-accounts and see what was budgeted. I can also quickly create a budget for a new fiscal year. So let's pick 2020. It doesn't have a budget yet, so we want to create one. So I'm going to press yes. And within a moment here, this is going to update with all of the same accounts and groups that we had before, but no dollar values in them. So I'm going to go and preload articles. So this will allow me to bring in amounts based off of last year's either actual or budget amounts. So here I can select which ledger I want to copy my budget from. I'm going to pick which year I want to copy it from, and then I can pick a multiplier. So let's hope we grow by 5% this year. I'm going to press next. Here I can select which accounts and sub-account groups I want to update. I'm going to leave this as is to update all of my accounts. And then here I'm going to say again that we want to update all existing articles and load non-existent articles. So I'm going to press finish. And here it's updated our budget. So if we go and take a look here at this account, we can go and take a look at the distribute option. So we could update the total amount here and then select the distribute option. And here we have the option to distribute this amount evenly across all periods or proportionally to the previous year. So if you have a cyclical business where you have peaks and valleys in your business, you can select to have your amounts distributed in your budget that way. You could also edit each period manually. Once a budget has been finalized, it can be released to prevent further edits on the Release Budgets form. Now let's go look at how to create a journal entry and take a look at a few things that we mentioned earlier in the video. So I'm going to go to the Finance workspace, and here I can click on the New Journal Entry tile or the plus new icon here beside Journal Transactions. If I click on Journal Transactions, it's going to bring a list of all the journal entries that are in the system. In this table, I can filter based on any of the column headings to sort and look at the data in another way. I can click on the plus icon to create a new journal entry. Let's start by looking at a reversing journal entry. So I'm going to create an accrual entry for March 31st, and my period automatically updates. I'm going to add a description. And here I'm going to pick the auto reversing option. Because of the settings we set up on the General Ledger Preferences screen, the reversing entry will post immediately. We could have also set it up to post when we close the March period. So there's two different ways to do it. And because the April period is open, it will post right away. Down below, I'm going to pick an account. So I'm going to start by picking our control account for accounts receivable that doesn't allow for manual entry, so you can see the error. So I pick my account, and right away here, we're getting a red error. So this will prevent us from saving. So we need to pick a different account. If I pick the other account, the AR accrual account, I am getting a warning that this is a control account and perhaps I should consider choosing a different account. We now need to pick our sub account. So if I press F3 on my keyboard, it brings up the first segment and I can select which segment I want. And I can do that again to pick the second segment. And here I can pick the project and task I want to post to if I am using the project accounting module. And here I'm going to enter my amount. So I'm going to enter a debit of $10,000. And then I'm going to pick another account. So I'm just going to pick my sales revenue account. And automatically the system has balanced my account for me. I could change this amount and enter another line if I needed to, but you get the idea. I'm just going to pick my project here. My account's not on hold and my entry is balanced. So I'm going to go and release this entry. And now you can see that it has also given us a reversing batch. So I'm just going to click on that so you can see it. So here we can see for this reversing batch that it has the date of April 1st, just as we planned, and it's the inverse of what we just posted. I'm going to go back and let's create one more journal entry, and I'm just going to show you another way to create a journal entry. So on my desktop, I have a journal entry that I've got in an Excel file, and I could have as many lines as I wanted, and I've set up my layout in my Excel template exactly like it is in Acumatica. So I've got my branch account, sub-account, project, and my debit credit amounts and a description. So let's go and import that into Acumatica. So I'm going to use the load records from file option, and I'm going to go choose my file. It's right here at the top, and I'm going to upload it. I'm going to just pick these settings. And then here, because I named my columns in Excel exactly the same as my columns are in Acumatica, it's matched them up for me. But if I hadn't named them the same, I would just pick from the drop-down icons here to match up my columns. And I'm going to press OK. And here within a few moments, it's loaded my whole journal entry, so I didn't have to manually select all of these items. Another thing that I can do with this type of journal entry, if I have a complicated entry that I enter every month, I can go and I can save this as a template. So I'm going to go ahead and release my journal entry. I could also attach backup here to a file. Oh, I've got to save it first. Now I can attach files, so I can easily click and drag or browse to attach this file. So let's do that. And I'm going to upload it. So if you had an approval you needed to attach, that can now be attached. I'll just enter a quick description, payroll for April. And now I'm going to go ahead and release this entry. If an item has posted to an incorrect account or sub-account, I can go to Actions, and I can go Reclassify. So here I have a couple options. I can either pick a completely different account. So maybe this shouldn't have come from our checking account. It should have come from our savings account. I can pick that. So account 10th. So I can just type over it and save that. I can also split amounts. So I'm going to pick this wages one. So perhaps this shouldn't have gone entirely to our 000,000 sub account. So I'm going to go split. And now it's giving me two lines. So for the first one here, I want to post this to our finance department. So I'm just going to go here and use F3 and pick our finance department. And it's going to be $25,000 that should have gone there. I can split again. And this amount here is updated. So now we also want to maybe post some of this to our ops department. So I'm just going to do F3 again to select that, and maybe $40,000. And I can just say process. So all of the items that we're adjusting, we have checked off, and I'll go process. Close that. And so now we've got a new journal entry. So let's just go back to our journal transactions screen. So here we can see that our reclassified entry is sitting in the balance status based on the settings we had in our general ledger preferences screen. So we can take one final look here. You can see that it's adjusted the various amounts based on what we had selected, and I can go and release it. There is another way to post your journal transactions. So on the finance workspace, you have the option under processes to release transactions. This will allow you to release multiple transactions at once. Now that we're in the finance workspace, let's also talk about reporting. So there's lots of ways in Acumatica to look at your financial information. I'm going to start by going to the account details inquiry. And here I've populated this with my sales revenue account, and I'm going to just clear out the sub account. And here we can see all of the transactions that are available. As we showed in our user interface video, I can click on any of these batch numbers and drill down to the original source documents. I can also filter here by sub-account. So if I wanted to look, I can use my F3 function here and I can look for everything that is a consumer good with a sub-account 000. And so now it's filtered. I can see my turnover here. I can include reclassified items, and I can also put on specific date filters if there's a specific item that I'm looking for. So I've got it here for a larger financial period. I could filter for very specific date ranges if I'm looking for something. In the finance workspace, we also have a couple options to look at our trial balance. So we have our trial balance summary, which will bring in our totals for the period without the sub-accounts, and we can also see the detailed one. So I'm going to expand this and I'm going to go to my trial balance details. And I'm just going to run it for December where there's more data. And just run report. And here we can see at a sub-account level the transactions that have occurred. We can drill down on any of these numbers to get more detailed information about the transactions that make up these debit and credit amounts. Our standard financial statements are based off of Acumatica's analytical report writer, which is built off of report definitions. In the report definitions screen, we can see which row, column, and unit sets make up specific reports. So if we look at the profit and loss report, I'm just going to quickly open the row set. And here we can see all of the rows that are going to show up in our report. So we have some options to select our data source. So here we can get our source either based on account numbers or account class. We can set specific sub-account or account settings. We can also choose whether we're going to expand by our account or just our sub-account. So I'm going to expand our sales by sub-account, which you'll see in a moment here. We also have some other things in terms of how we want our lines to be formatted, whether there's things that are totals, things that should be in bold. So we've got this row set all set up. I'm just going to close that. And you can share row sets or column sets between multiple reports. So let's go quickly run this report. So we were looking at the profit and loss financial statement. Again, I'm just going to run this for December. And here we can see that we've got all of our information in our financial statement. So now we can see we've got, this is our sub account, and it's just giving us the description because that's what we had set. So the default, that's that 00000. This is consumer goods, so CON-0000, and so on. So we can get it at the sub account level, and then it's also giving us the total. We also have some options because of the unit set that was on here to look at this at a grouped level. So we can look for a specific branch or at a more consolidated level. So now we've taken a look at a couple of the reporting options in Acumatica for finance. Thanks for watching. Want to learn more? Visit our website at contigogroup.ca/Acumatica or check out the rest of the videos in our Acumatica Essentials series.